What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of Restoration with Vick. For today's episode, we got another rare player edition sneaker. This time, the Michael Finley Jordan 7s. These are very similar to the French Blue 7s that came out a couple of times over the last 20 years. The main difference between those and these are the stitch 4s on both shoes, the leather tongues, and the overall quality of these shoes. For those of you who don't know Michael Finley, he's an NBA legend. He played for a few different teams, but he's mostly known for playing with the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. These shoes are from his Dallas Mavericks days. The overall condition of these are great, but age has gotten to them. On the rubber outsoles, there's yellowing going on. We gotta get that out. On the leather, it's pretty dried out as well. We gotta recondition that using some mink oil. The biggest problem with these shoes are the back tabs. They have completely deteriorated off. We gotta replace these. We got a lot of work ahead of us, guys, so without further ado, let's get it started. All right, let's get straight into it. The first step we're gonna be working on is the rubber toe caps. They are yellowed, so for this step, we're gonna be using some RESHOEVN8R Sole Revive. You can find this at RESHOEVN8R.com. We're gonna apply a thin coat of Sole Revive onto the toe caps, place a saran wrap over it, then put it in the indoor setup for about 30 minutes. When we come back, they should be fully white. Toe caps are back to white, only took about 30 minutes using my indoor setup. You don't have to use that if you don't have one, you can just use a simple sun. Now we're on to the real damage on these shoes, the back tabs. These shoes are from 2002, 2003, so that makes them really old. That's why the back tabs have completely deteriorated away. Now we gotta replace them. So for this step, we had to go get some donors. I went on eBay, picked up these size 13 French Blue 7s. They were size 13, so I figured it was a close enough size to a size 15. Once I took it off and put it on this shoe, it was way too small. So I had to go back on eBay and find a size 15 to match this shoe. Luckily, it should be a perfect match. So for this, we're gonna grab an X-Acto knife and chop off these donors to get them ready to put on the Michael Finley Jordan 7s. All right, we got the donor tabs all cleaned up. We also went ahead and cleaned up all the loose threads that were on the shoes. Now we gotta take it a step further with this prep work. We're gonna use a dremel to shave this area down. We are gonna glue these back tabs onto the shoes. We are gonna add some simulated stitching as well. But before we do that, we gotta do some more prep work. All done with that step. The reason why I use a Dremel is because I needed to roughen up these areas in order for these back tabs to adhere nicely onto these shoes. Before we get to move on to the next step, we're gonna use some acetone and cotton balls to wipe down the glue on the back tabs. Prep is fully complete on the back tabs and shoes. Now we're on to adding our simulated stitching. The reason why I'm gonna go this route and not actually sew the back tabs onto the shoes is simply because I don't wanna get any stitching on this back area and kind of ruin the inside of the shoe. So this is the next best route we can go. For those of you that don't know what simulated stitching is, it's simply just adding stitching to the back tab so it looks like it's actually sewn onto the shoe. Tabs are fully stitched up. They turned out great, but it was a little time consuming. Now we're on to applying it onto the shoes. For this, we're gonna be using some barge super stick. We're gonna apply it onto the tabs and onto the shoes. We're gonna wait a few minutes, let it cure, and then we'll bind it together. But first, let's tape up the shoe. Glue is fully applied onto the tabs and it's fully cured. Now the next thing we gotta do is stick them onto the shoes. First, we gotta heat up the glue on both the shoes and the tabs. Then take our time very carefully, line it up, because we only have one shot at this.
Oh man.
Backtabs are fully complete. This is one that I'm proud of. They turned out perfect. Literally alignments on point. They look like they're actually stitched on the shoes. I can't complain. This is a quality job. Now we're on to the rest of the shoe. Like I mentioned, the shoe is in deadstock condition, but for the last few hours, I've been putting my greasy fingers all over the shoe, so they need to be cleaned up. Whenever I work on client shoes, I always add a deep clean. But in reality, the shoe does need a cleaning. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the shoe is over 20 years old. The leather is kind of dried out. It needs to be reconditioned. That's the beautiful thing about our solution. It is 100% natural and it comes with natural oils that's gonna help recondition the leather. So for this, we're gonna be using our RESHOEVN8R starter kit that you can find at RESHOEVN8R.com or your local Foot Locker. Our starter kit comes with 3 different tools. First, our 2-ounce bottle of solution. Next, we got a medium bristle brush. And lastly, a microfiber towel. Everything you need for a quick deep clean. Deep clean is complete, super easy. The leather already feels a lot softer. Now we're gonna let these dry for a few hours so you can come back and I can show you guys the proper way on how to recondition old leather on any shoe. All done with the cleaning, the shoes are fully dried. Now we're on to the reconditioning process. For this, we're gonna be using our RESHOEVN8R mink oil. We use this tool a lot when we're trying to bring back the color on suede after it's been washed out, but this also works great on reconditioning old leather. For example, on these shoes, like I mentioned several times, they are old, it's a little brittle. In order to preserve this old leather for another 20 years, you gotta recondition it. So what we're gonna do is apply some mink oil onto the shoes. We're gonna let it sit for about 24 hours so we can allow time for the leather to absorb that mink oil. After that, we're gonna go in and wipe off any excess. We're back. It's been about 24 hours since we let the mink oil sit on the shoe. Now it's time to wipe off the excess. Right off the bat, I can already see a big difference in this leather. It's a lot softer and healthier. At the end of the day, these shoes are investments, so make sure you guys are protecting them and taking good care of them so your leather doesn't fall apart in the future. Let's lace them up. Alright guys, that is going to bring us to an end on this restoration on these Michael Finley Air Jordan 7s. This was a fun restoration because it allowed me to do something that I've never done in the past, and that is replace the backtabs on the Jordan 7s. I love how they came out. This is one that I'm really proud of. Alignments on point, the stimulated stitching on point, really clean as well. Everything about it just screams quality. Really easy to do, you guys. If you guys ever had this situation at home, you just got to get a pair of donors, remove them, add some stitching, and glue them onto the shoes. Real easy process. After that, we moved on to some other restoration work that was needed. On the toe caps, we had a lot of yellowing going on, so we busted out the RESHOEVN8R Sole Revive. We applied it and then used some UV rays to help wipe off the yellowing. After that, we used our brand new RESHOEVN8R starter kit to give this a gentle cleaning. You can find that at your local Foot Locker. And lastly, we reconditioned the entire leather the proper way using our mink oil. You can find all our products at RESHOEVN8R.com. Use my promo code down below to save some money. This was a fun project. It's always a good time working on player edition sneakers. This is Vick Almighty. I'll catch you guys next Monday. See you guys.